Good morning. Well, you can probably tell from the video, I think it's pretty evident, even to somebody like Buck, that hey, we're talking about mini excavators. See here, we got 3 on the stage as well. As Chris was right, when we were first assigned this project, my thought was, we're screwed. We're toast. This is not something that I thought that I could justify a premium for, sell the features and benefits and advantage for. And really, about a third of the way through this process of looking at these machines, still kind of in that mindset. However, as we went through it, found a few things, several things that I think we have a better advantage of what they have or something that's exclusive to Caterpillar. First thing I want to do is introduce the team here. Got Mark Nash from the rental store, Gary Brown from the product support group, Jamie Thompson from the general line sales, and myself, Brian Wilson, from the general line sales. This is going to be kind of our quick agenda today. We're going to talk about some overall mini excavator statistics. We're going to get into the new E2 version of the 303.5, which we just happened to grab from the Athens plant a couple of days ago. We haven't had a chance to put it in the dirt yet. We're going to do some comparisons between the 3 machines. We'll take a quick break. We'll turn the machines around, look on the backside, engine serviceability, some other items, and we'll wrap up with questions and answers. Just to give you an overall global perspective of where this market is for Caterpillar. You can see here we've got, globally we have 4 locations where these machines are produced. We've got Japan, Austria, China, of course the new one up the road in Athens, Georgia. What this chart down here at the bottom shows us a lot of slides, a lot of busy numbers. This is Caterpillar's global mini excavator capabilities, production levels that they can do with all of these plants on board. See, starting back here in 2006, the total was about 13,500 machines. You come forward over here to 2014, we're in the 18,000 machine range. Pushing forward out to a projected in 2022, we're looking over 32,000 mini excavators that Caterpillar will be able to produce through these 4 factories. One thing I do want to point out, right here in 2013, of course everybody in the room knows, the Athens plant launch. You can see here in this blue section, see how that grows as we go on? That's more and more production coming out of the Athens plant as they get further along in their manufacturing processes. They said, this is big. Big on several levels. Number one, there's not another competitor now that can look at us and say, hey, we're made in the USA. We're the only one. It's right on the side of the machine, made in USA. I don't know how many of you had the chance to get up to the Athens plant. I know there was a customer launch for the 5-ton machine a few weeks ago, and some people went. We were able to go back in the summertime, walk through the plant with one of the engineers as well as the plant manager. There's been a lot of Caterpillar plants over the years. This is probably one of the most clean, efficient, well laid out plants that I've ever been in. I think Buddy Brand said it in the video, the 100-year video that we had, when he was driving down the road and he could see a project and say, hey, our customers built that with our products. I go past this plant every week. I kind of have that same feeling that, hey, this is our plant. I even had friends and relatives that call this my plant, but it's not. There's been a campaign we've had going on here in Georgia, here at Yancey for a while. We Build Georgia. It's built here in Georgia. We build Georgia with our customers using our products. Quick rundown of where we're at as far as the availability of the machines coming out of the Athens plant. See that there in the middle part, the 308's already out. We've got several machines out in the field, customers using on jobs. The 5-ton machine, which we just had the customer launch a few weeks ago, we got those machines coming down the line and coming out to the dealerships as well. The bottom one there, the 303.5, 304, they're already in production. So we'll start shipping mid-January after the first of the year. Like I said, we were able to, with Ian Carroll's help, grab this machine out of the Athens plant early. One thing that they're going to have in the Athens plant, we're going to have a PDC there for these products. You're going to have the ability to take work tools, add your work tools, additional work tools, without any additional cost to us, to the deal, or to the customer. You'll be able to select different buckets, couplers, whether it's a manual or hydraulic lock coupler, and you'll also have the capability of getting a thumb coupler combination. Again, no additional cost for this to come from the PDC. This is going to help speed up getting this machine to us, therefore out to the customer, quickening our turnaround our time, and also helping with our not having to inventory as many machines. Probably not many people in this room that know what this is. This is a $1 million investment that Caterpillar's put into the Athens plant. And this goes back to Caterpillar's always been known for quality. This machine proves it. What this thing does is you take the CAD files from whatever component you're talking about. It could be a stick, it could be a swing frame, it could be a main frame. Put that component into this room. It's a self-contained, climate-controlled, built on ice layer mounts, so if there's a tornado, hurricane, it's not going to affect this machine. Very precise, as you can see, 5/100,000ths is its tolerance. What this machine does with that the little point down on the bottom, it goes around and checks measuring points on openings. It could be final drive opening, pin bore on a stick, checks these tolerances and makes sure that their quality control, their manufacturing processes stay where they want them to stay. Again, it goes back to just a quality and an attention to detail. Looking at the 3 to 8 ton machines, again, the machines that come out of the Caterpillar factory, this is of course not an exclusive list. This is the main competitors that we typically see in our marketplace in this category. You see there's a lot of machines, a lot of manufacturers, but also consider there's a lot of dealers in here as well. Multiple dealers for some of these competitors. Here's where we're going to focus today. The 303.5, as we got now, the E2. One thing to consider, Jamie brought this up. You look here where we're at with the 303.5 and we line up. We're comparing today to the John Deere 35G the Kubota U35-4, which is both of their current offerings. One thing to consider, if you are in a fight with John Deere, and maybe something about our machine, the 303.5, that doesn't quite get there, we've got a gap machine, basically, the 304. Not quite as big as the John Deere 50G, a little bigger than the 303.5. Again, different offerings to meet whatever the customer's needs are. Also, you look to the left of that, 303E, probably the value machine for utility contractors. That's machines coming down the line in the future. Like I said, a lot of players in the market, a lot of different brands, a lot of different machines. And here's the two that we're going to focus on. We got here on stage with us. Just for note, the Kubota is Caterpillar's machine. We got that from the Clayton factory. We were able to have that down here. John Deere was a little tougher to find. Not just typical war paint, as it's John Deere. The Sunbelt Green, I'm sorry. For comparison purposes, here's how we configured our 303.5 E2. Pretty basic machine. Canopy, 24-inch bucket, standard warranty. Only thing we did add was the power angle blade. We wanted to do that because a lot of the Kubotas that are coming into the marketplace have the power angle blade. We wanted to put that in there just so we could compare more apples to apples. The machine that we were testing in all the field tests did not have an angle blade, and this 303.5 E2 does not. But for pricing reasons, we wanted to put it in there. So here's where we're at. As I mentioned, how we have it equipped, Canopy 24-inch blade, angle blade, standard discounting, standard RSA funds. We're at $45,136. That's at a 10% gross profit off of list. John Deere pricing, similar machine, canopy, 24-inch bucket. However, the only price we could really get a good firm handle on it we felt comfortable with was a straight blade. We could not get any indication from anyone, customer or otherwise, the angle blade cost. Kubota machine, picture shows a cab. We have a cab machine here. We had, this is a hard number from a customer. We've got priced there at $38,965, canopy machine, angle blade, again a 24-inch bucket. Trying to compare as apples to apples as we could. Rolling it all up, here's our three initial, keep that in mind, initial price points. And the corresponding Caterpillar premium that we have against each machine. Almost $6,200 premium on the Kubota, a little more than $3,600 premium to the John Deere.
Okay, so what we're looking at here is the purchasing profile for the 3.5-ton class excavator. No surprise that price is what's most important to them. Next is owning and operating cost and performance and on down the line. So CAT's strategy going to the E2 from the E was to reduce the horsepower from 31.6 down to 24.8. So by doing that, they eliminated the need for that DPF filter and the service of that filter down the road. And they were able to do that by utilizing the new smart technology. So here is just a quick high-level side-by-side spec comparison. Kubota touts a high breakout force. The machine doesn't really demo that well. Ours appears to be a lot stronger. The Deere actually felt stronger. I felt like their machine was exposed in this lift capacity spec. You can see we're about 40% higher over the front than the Kubota. We're about a third higher over the side. And as far as our engine displacement, we've got a little bigger engine. We're at 110 cubic inch. The Kubota's at 100, and the Deere's right there with us at 110. And another area where we really shine is on our dump height. You can see here we're at almost 12 feet. The Kubota's about a foot under us at 11.1, and the Deere's kind of close to us right there at 11.9. So we're going to show you a quick video here, and the first thing we want to do is just to kind of see what Kubota was saying about us. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors in this video. You want to watch. You see this operator here? Look at the guy they're using in the Kubota video. And they're referencing C-Series specs. They're never going to show you the model of our machine in this video. We think it's a D or an E, but take a look. A lot of smoke and mirrors in here.
When you're the global market leader in compact excavators, you've learned a thing or two about what owners and operators require from them. We're going to show you why the reliability, efficiency, and value of a Kubota excavator make it the best choice for your excavation projects. Let's take a look at the Kubota U35-4 versus the Bobcat E35 and Caterpillar 303.5. You'll notice differences with daily service item checks. The Kubota U35-4 has easy access to all the daily check items. Easy access helps to ensure that daily checks are completed, prolonging the life of the machine. Note how easy it is to access the Kubota U35-4 battery for inspection. The Caterpillar 303.5 battery is located under the floor, making access difficult. Checking the Kubota U35-4 belt tension is a snap. The Caterpillar 303.5 belt tensioner is difficult to access, and the Kubota U35-4 control valve components are easily accessible for inspection. The Bobcat E35 control valve is difficult to access due to the hose routing and filter placement. The Kubota U35-4 fuel fill features a locking cap for safety and security. The Bobcat E35 fuel cap does not have a locking feature. Comfortable operators are less fatigued and more productive. The Kubota U35-4 features a wide entryway for easy entry and exit and a full suspension seat with adjustable wrist rests. The Bobcat E35 seat base protrudes into the entryway, making entry difficult. The Caterpillar 303.5 seat is a semi-suspension seat, which is less comfortable and may lead to operator fatigue and lower productivity. The U35-4 has plenty of floor space for steel-toed boots, and the fold-up foot pedals are large enough to operate the machine in both directions. The Bobcat E35's foot pedals are too close to the foot guard. Note how the boots hit the foot guard when using the foot pedals. The Caterpillar 303.5 foot pedals do not fold up and take up valuable floor space needed for operator comfort. The Kubota U35-4 features a ROPS, TOPS, and OPG Top Guard certified canopy and cab. Lightweight for improved stability and certified for safety, the Kubota U35-4 safety systems provide operator protection from job site hazards. The Bobcat E35 is only ROPS Top certified, but not OPG Top Guard. The Caterpillar 303.5 is Top certified, but not ROPS. These are lower certifications than Kubota and demonstrate Kubota's commitment to operator safety. The Kubota U35-4 operating pattern selector switch is conveniently located near the seat. You can easily reach down to change the operating pattern, thereby improving productivity and safety. The Bobcat E35 operating pattern selector switch is located under the seat and behind a panel. The Caterpillar 303.5 operating selector is in the control panel. You have to work through the menu to change the operating pattern. The Kubota U35-4 quick coupler's simple operation speeds attachment changes for improved versatility. The Bobcat E35 quick coupler requires a lot of steps to change attachments, and the retaining pin is difficult to insert. The pin can be easily damaged from hammer use. Most Kubota excavator customers use a hydraulic thumb. The Kubota U35-4 features a diverter valve so that the thumb can remain plumbed when using hydraulically powered attachments. The Bobcat E35 and Caterpillar 303.5 do not have a diverter valve. You must purchase a secondary hydraulic option. Even when heavily loaded, the Kubota U35-4 won't slow down. Its powerful bucket breakout force is more than enough for the toughest excavating jobs. Breakout force is a superior 7,924 pounds, compared to Bobcat's 6,968 pounds and Caterpillar's 7,419 pounds. Let's take a quick look at the Kubota advantages one more time. Ease of serviceability, operator comfort, ease of operation, operator safety, easy attachment changes, superior breakout force. Nothing beats the ownership experience of a Kubota. Smart engineering, high efficiency, long-term reliability, and long-lasting value. These are things that are important to you, and they're important to Kubota. See your local Kubota construction equipment dealer for more details.
Okay, to sum that up, what did they say? They said our battery was hard to access, that it was hard to get to our belt adjustment, that they had better serviceability, that they've got a more spacious cab, more floor space. They have a safer machine. They referenced that we don't have ROPS, TOPS certifications. They said that we don't offer you the diverter valve as standard. They claim that they've got a higher bucket breakout force and that they have an easier machine to operate. So on the next slide, just to show you how ridiculous that video is, Mark can point to our certifications clearly marked on the inside of our cab here. We are ROPS, TOPS, and Top Guard certified.
We talk about probably around here some of our favorite things, pins. What this chart here is North American market for the 303.5 and 304, which are reported in the same size class. Here we've got units down the left, pins on the right, going from 2009 to 2014 year to date. See, the yellow bar indicates Caterpillar pins. This is retail only. Takes all the rental fleets out. Retail only. You can see where we started back in 2009. Again, North American market, North American deliveries, just over 2,800. 2013, that number's climbed all the way to 6,400 plus. The 2014 numbers through 3 quarters, we're at just shy of 5,200. It's probably going to top out in the 71, 72, possibly 7,300 range. The black line indicates the pins, the market share of this size class. See, it's kind of followed that same pattern going up. Whereas this year in ACD, this market, Caterpillar is 21.1%. Okay, that's where we're at. Where's the John Deere? 14.4%. We're still a little above them. This is the one that's a little uglier. Almost 1/3 of the machines this size class reported the pins. That is the Kubota. Now let's get a little closer to home. Pins here, the Yancey. Same time frame, same size class, retail only, taking out rental fleet. See, the yellow is machines delivered, or machines delivered in the industry. Started low, 2009, 58. We climbed to 204 in 2013. Again, 2014 numbers here are year to date. Fortunately, our pins, which is represented by the black line, don't follow that same path that the industry has. Currently, year to date, we're at 14.8. Going back to our other question, where's the John Deere? Pretty close to us, 12.8. This is the one that's a little tougher to stomach right here. Orange machine over here, 42% of our market. This size class, that orange machine. So looking at these numbers, out of 55 Caterpillar dealers here in North America, our current numbers rank us 42nd ends in this size class. But just looking at the size of the room here, how many different salesmen we have in here, it would be less than one sale per person to get us into the top 10. We would need about 25 sales in this category to get us in the top 10. Again, that's almost less than one per person in this room. Where does that put us? Where would that put our pins if we did that? It would essentially just about double our pins and put us in that 27 to 28% market. So Mark brought up safety first. This is at the forefront. Any Caterpillar meeting, any Yancey Brothers meeting, very critical to Caterpillar. Some of the things that our Caterpillar machine has, accumulator. We're going to talk a little bit later about what that does, how it affects a safety situation. We have a certified lifting eye right here on the front. It's stamped and certified as a lifting eye. None of the other machines have it. Like they mentioned, we have the certifications for the safety on the cab. Boom swing. We'll show that a little later. We've got a demo to show the safety of how our boom swing up on the pistol grip is a lot safer than a foot swing. Ground level engine kill. Able to, just like on our larger excavators, medium-sized wheel loaders, where in an emergency situation, we can run around and kill that engine immediately for whatever reason. We also have that on this machine. Machine tie downs. Doesn't have anything to do with production of the machine, it's performance. I'm just thinking about, these things spend a lot of their life sitting on a trailer transported around. We've got more tie downs on the roller frame, blade, under the undercarriage to get this machine safely from one job to the other. Final one's travel alarm. You would think every machine manufactured today for construction would have a travel alarm as a standard feature. Kubota, this machine does not have it.
Going through the updates, good morning, everybody. The 3 major updates we could give you for from the E to the E2 series is basically the machines being moved to Athens, Georgia. That's huge. I hope everybody gets a chance to get in there in the early spring to go through that plant with a customer or just yourself. The refreshed cab and operator station, they've revamped the entire cab itself. It's a complete new fit to finish now. It's it makes more sense as a Caterpillar machine. And the biggest part of this is the new high-definition hydraulic system. The strategic approach for Tier 4 regarding this size and this category, CAT has followed suit with the other manufacturers, and they've lowered from 31.6 to 24.8, getting under the 25 horsepower threshold. What's that do? That gets rid of the DPF system, so this is a non-DPF tractor. What does that do? That decreases, or not only that, it adds no extra cost into the engine itself, allowing that machine to stay at a more manageable price point. Like we're talking about smart technology, the E2 to E series with the new high definition hydraulic system, it's allowing the trenching, even though it has a lower horsepower, it's allowing 8% better fuel consumption and a 7% more fuel efficiency. And now we'll let Gary talk a little bit more about the high-definition system.
All right. High-definition hydraulics. 15 years ago, when we had a demo on a machine, what did we do, Carlisle? We turned them up. Turned fuel up, line release up, RPMs up. Now we've got a hydraulic system out that we're running at a lower horsepower rating. It creates less heat in the control valves, and it combines an open center and a closed center systems. Now, it sounds confusing, but it's a very, very simple system. What we got on the left, you got me? Well,
very good.
What we got on the left-hand side right here is an open center system that's on the current excavators now. It's a variable electronic pump. You got pilot controls on it. You got a hydraulic computer with it and a hydraulic controller. Now on the right-hand side, that's like a 416 machine. It's got a closed center system with a resolver network, but you're also going to have the pilot load sensing going down to the spool to move the spool with the main relief in the middle. Now, what I want you to see in the middle on the high-definition hydraulics is it's simplified. What we've got here is we got a series of orifices. The bottom one is a variable flow orifice. The top one is a median orifice, and the one on the right is a bypass orifice. Down in the control valve is a flow summation valve in there. They all work together as a network and to create the high-definition hydraulic system. Go ahead, next slide. So, what do we get out of this? This is the greatest advanced advancements in hydraulic control valve technology in the last 40 years. The HDH technology is poised to be the market leader. This is what you're going to start seeing on all your excavators in the near future. The patents are still pending on a lot of it now. It lowers your fuel efficiency. It has a smoother, stable control like an open system, and it has refined and simple solution for the whole network. Next slide. All right, to bring it down, it's a simple design, a simple control valve. It's a fraction of the cost, so it's saving money in the manufacturing process. It eliminates the compensators, pilot relief valves, regeneration valves that's in the current hydraulic systems now. It eliminates all that. It produces a pressure signal by the use of orifices and that flow simulation valve. It produces less heat. Whenever in the old days when we turned the excavators up, what happened then was we had a hydraulic heating problem with the machines. And also look at the layouts on the hoses. We got the pilot lines coming in from the bottom side. You got on the outside of the valves here, that's your pressure lines going to your cylinders, drive motors, and everything's easy. Everything's easy to get to. You got your pressure port to check your main hydraulic pressure on the right-hand side, be on the left-hand side up here, and pilot pressures also. Also, what they've added is auxiliary relief valve. And what this is, if, let's say you want to run a thumb on your excavator, and I've seen this on numerous customers. They run a thumb, and they've got the line relief set so high that it actually warps the thumb and bends them up. Now we've got the ability to go in here and adjust it back down, so maybe it's got a little cushion when you go to pick something up, releasing pressure. Or what if you got an auger on there? We have to set the flows for the auger at a certain gallons per minute. Now we can go in here and set the pressure on it. Thank you.
Jumping back into the updates of the E to E2 series, one of the big things on a cab machine, unfortunately we couldn't get a cab machine, but just looking at the slides here, this used to be exposed. It was exposed underneath there, and air could kind of would get in there. Now they blocked it off. They actually not only blocked it off, they put a little net there. I know that seems really simple, but simple things like that count. Another big thing, if you remember, if you ever sold a cab machine, you had to put a radio in it. You had to go buy, nothing came from the factory. You had to go buy it from the parts counter. You had to go and just slid it in the back of it. Now it comes, like we were talking about earlier, fit to finish. Look at that radio on there. It sits up here on the left post up here on the top. It's Bluetooth. I mean, it's just a nicer radio. It's a nicer setup for it right there. And these, if you've ever been in an E-Series, you have the old wing nuts in there, and it doesn't look cat, Now they, I know it sounds simple as well, but there's just these little knobs in there now that just let you adjust it up and down a lot simpler. So having to do a bunch of screwing around and stuff like that. Operator station, they've moved a couple things from the left to the right. In a cab machine, the AC is now on the left-hand side, which will open up some space on the left, on the right-hand side on the left, excuse me. Got a USB connection there now, a cup holder and a couple places you put your cell phone. Everybody's got a cell phone. On the right, they went from the old sliding AC to now they have the turn dial. There's a couple more switches that were on the left console here that are now on the right-hand side too, just to make it easier for the controller, for the operator. And the seat, this particular machine, since it's a base model, didn't have it in it, but the new seats is a high suspension seat with a neck rest on it, so the guy can sit back and actually adjust that neck rest, where before it was just a solid foam piece on the back. This I thought was pretty clever. Before that thing would sit out like that, I'm a big guy like me, getting up in it, I always, especially when I'm wearing Carhartt, something like that, I always get caught. Going up in it. Now this, going up in the machine like that, now I can slide right up in there and don't get caught up in it. And the front window, if you remember on the cab machines, the bottom glass, it came out and they had a storage on the left-hand side. But now the bottom glass actually slides up into the top glass, and the whole thing will slide up from there. Taken away from having to store stuff and just running the risk of maybe breaking that glass. And this is the big one. The old sliding door. Now we have the pin back door. We were a little curious about whether the pin back was going to stay within the tracks, because actually the sliding didn't. But if you looking at the specs, it stays within the track, so it still stays a compact machine. The door itself, the old sliding door was a one single pane of glass. Now it's a two piece of the glass there. So that's another way not to reduce cost if the window is broken.
Okay, so one thing you want to point out when you're up against the Kubota is they don't have a true zero-turn machine. As you can see in this slide, they actually hang over the tracks about 2.5 inches. And then one of the claims they make is that they have a wider opening going in the cab. So if you look here, they've actually only got about 17 inches of clearance, and it's a tight cab, especially for a big guy like me. So maybe I won't fall. The Deere's virtually got the same dimension. It's only 17 inches wide. And again, it's a tight machine to get up and in and out of. So when you compare that to the Cat, both of those were only 17 inches wide. Ours has 18 and a half inches of clearance, and as Mark pointed out, they've got this safety lever wrapped up here around the console now. So when you get in here, it's got a nice fit and finish, and it's clearly got the most spacious cab out of these three models. So another claim Kubota made was that they have more floor space. Well, the Kubota and the Deere both have these flip-up pedals. And they really have to put these things in there because they don't have any clearance between the back of this pedal and under the seat here. And my guess is people are going to leave these things down all the time. And then they still have their boom swing in the floor just like the Deere does over here. So when you look at this one, the width of this floor is a little wider. The Kubota was at 27 and a half. This is at 32 inches. But if you look, they've got a step here, which is easy to get your foot hung up on when you're getting in and out of this machine. It's easy to trip out when you're getting off this tractor. So if you get in here and look, they still have the boom swing here in the floor. This is a real tight, kind of cluttered cab. So when you compare that to ours, we don't need the flip-up pedals, as you can see. I've got a size 12 boot here. Got plenty of room in this floor. And the biggest thing is they've got the boom swing off the floor up here on your left joystick. The big safety feature, we'll get into that later. So something we've got that these guys don't have is we're 100% pilot-operated controls. So anytime you have this machine locked out with this lever up, you've locked out all your pilot or your hydraulic functions. Big safety factor. And the pilot-operated controls also perform better. And they've got a lower owning and operating cost. They last longer than the mechanical linkages, and you don't need to service them or adjust them down the road. So as you can see here in this picture, the Kubota and the Deere still have a linkage on their travel pedals and on their boom swing.
Another feature we have on ours is the adjustable auxiliary flows. Basically, this is just, you can set into the compass system, you can set it up where you can adjust your flows to your implement. It's real simple. We'll go through the compass in a little bit and show you a little clearer vision of that. The John Deere, they have no flow control. They do have a continuous flow on the switch, just like we do. The Kubota has both. They do have the monitor. They do have continuous flow. They have the flow control. But messing with us, it was just very complicated how to get in and out of there. Ours is a two-button system. It's very simple. Like we show it here. It's 2 buttons. Shows you how to adjust it. It's continuous flow, and then you just run it from your thumb wheel from there. One thing we thought was interesting, we put a meter on all 3 machines. Well, we try to put it on 3 machines, showing the PSI. The John Deere obviously shows 2450. The Cat, even though our specs show way less than this, we're getting 3,800 PSI all the way up to here. The John Deere, it's not even all the way there. I mean, it stops there, and you still have to add another hose. And then the Kubota doesn't come standard with quick connects. That's an added cost to it. Hydraulic hoses, another just simple thing you would think, but it's something that Cat does that the other ones don't. You can see on the Kubota it's still running rubber hoses up through it with fabric wrapping. That's what I was trying to say. Cat's all steel lines. The John Deere, it has mostly steel lines, but they're coupled incorrectly on here. They're kind of just grouped in so tight they're having to fabric wrap these as well to keep them from rubbing each other. Hose protection. As you can see, the Kubota, they do keep it encapsulated into the machine to keep the hoses from being exposed, but they don't have a guard in the front, as Gary's pointing out. The John Deere has a giant guard in the front, but all the hoses are exposed on the side here. So, anything can rip those right out. And then the Cat, there's a guard. It's all encapsulated inside, keeping everything nice and tight, protected. And keeping on with the hoses, you can see that the John Deere, they do run their hoses, they're spiral wrapped, steel spiral wrapped hoses coming through, but yet they stop. They're going to stop here. So they're not all the way down to, like the cat who brings them all the way down to a quick connect. Kubota, it's all rubber. It's all rubber and it's all fabric wrapped. It's just cheap. It's cheap made. And it's got zip ties on it, correct?
I mentioned before we had priced this machine with an angle blade, and to be honest, I never really gave this feature much consideration. Thought it was kind of a pretty little add-on. Really didn't make that much of a difference. However, when we had all three of the machines out there and running them, the Kubota was the only one that we had with the angle blade feature. Really got to the point where I liked having that when you were backfilling a ditch, trying to push your spoil pile back into what you just pulled out. The angle blade really is a pretty nice thing. Looking at it for our machine, the 303.5, it was about net, about $2,700, $2,800 add-on. I believe we found out theirs was about $2,500. So we're about in the same ballpark. Like I said, really helped with the versatility of the machine, backfilling the trench. One thing we were curious about, I'll get there in a second. Again, we keep harping on it, coming back to quality and attention to details. Here's another one. You can see the pictures here. You can see them up on the machines when you come up later. Something simple like the blade guard, the guard on the blade hoist cylinder. Ours fully covers the whole cylinder. So does the John Deere. The Kubota, you can see it's just a little small plate. It's almost, I don't know why they even put it there. It has virtually no use. This was one thing we were talking about, backfilling the trench. Chris actually brought this up. If you're backfilling a trench running parallel to your trench, will it throw your spoil pile back into the trench? Or will it keep it there where you actually run over it? We did find one of our machines in the rental fleet that did have an angle blade. We checked it as well as the Kubota. You can see here in the picture. You are running parallel to your trench backfilling. It will keep the spoil pile away from your tracks into the ditch. One thing that is nice about the Kubota, we will say that the other two do not have, it does have a bolt-on cutting edge on their blade. Again, the angle blade, didn't give it much consideration. Find a machine on one of the yards, get out there and play with it, run it. I think you'll see that it could be something that the customers could benefit from. Same with the blades on the front. Blade float, similar like what we've seen on dozers. Really nice for when they're backfilling or back dragging, cleaning up their job site when they're done to give it a more professional finish for a landscaper to come in, seeding grass, whatever. One thing we did find out, John Deere doesn't have dozer float. Kubota does, and ours does. Again, another little feature once we were running the machine, it was really nice to have.
Okay, so the front shovel. This is just a feature that we have that nobody else has. You can flip this bucket around and pin it on backwards. The biggest thing I noticed is it's really going to eliminate some handwork in a lot of situations. You could, maybe you have to dig under an existing water line, utility line. It makes it easier with this front shovel. Then let's say you were backfilling up against a retainer wall or something like that, you could do it with a machine versus having to use shovels. So we got a video here before we ran it up in Gwinnett.
And by the way, Jamie's the operator.
Yeah, this was only after about 10 minutes of operating, and it is backwards.
We all ran it this way, and it takes a few minutes to get used to running it backwards.
This was in economy mode.
Come on. That's how slow Jamie is, actually.
Yeah. Here again, it's something we've got that nobody else has.
bucket fill factor will get a little bit better.
That's the main water line going to the Gwinnett store.
Poor Debbie had to go to the outhouse. I think it's the next bucket you will see really getting under that, taking the material away, where you can get in and do a repair on a water line, communications cable, fiber optics, whatever.
The biggest thing operationally to be solved is you have to think like a shovel and not like you're digging. And that was really hard in our heads to get that through it, how to work it. But once we figured it out, it was a lot nicer.
Okay, so when you're looking for silver bullets, this is it. This is something that you have to show the customer, and to really appreciate, you need to run yourself. But you got to bring this up on every demo. We've got 200 degrees of bucket rotation. That'll increase your productivity and efficiency, and you're able to do that through one pin position. When you look at the Kubota, they've actually got 2 pin positions. This will allow you to keep digging. You don't have to reposition your machine as often, and it also has better material retention in a truck loading application. So where we really shine with this is our dump heights. So on the Kubota, your bucket pin, and this is with the boom all the way up and the stick all the way out, is at 162 inches. The flat bottom on the bucket is at 116 inches. And then the deer is only at 164, and then 124 with a flat bottom bucket. And then we're all the way up at 170 inches to your bucket pin, and then our clearance on the flat bottom bucket's at 148 inches. So this just kind of overlays our bucket rotation over the Kubota and then the deer. And here again, this is something you have to demo. This will win you a sale. And the advantages, again, are load retention, less spillage, and less cleanup. So just watch these videos. Notice the material that is gathered on the top of the tire that you're losing with the other 2 machines, and then behind the back of that tire that's spilling on the floor.
That is bucket curled all the way in as far as you can go. This is a Hydrema truck we got out of the Gwinnett rental store. Measured the sideboard height. It's about 97, 98 inches from the sideboard to the ground. Just to give you, we wanted to show kind of a truck loading application, say in an urban setting, utility contractor digging dirt, excavating a hole. Got to move the material. You can't just lay it there on the sidewalk on the street. This is what we kind of wanted to simulate. Again, about 97, 98 inches sideboard to ground. Tandem axle dump truck's going to be 109, 110 with wooden sideboards. This is probably show up even more so with the tandem axle dump truck.
Now be sure and notice the dirt on the rear left tire. It just keeps piling up and piling up.
Our expert operator again.
See how much dirt actually got in that truck?
Those of you that ever want to rent a Hydrema truck, promise you, outstanding brakes.
It'll stop on the dime.
Do what? You got it.
Well, I think
Fine
Jamie,
beer.
I'm pretty sure Jamie was drinking at lunch this day.
Must have ended in Y.
And I edited out the bad ones.
I think there's an indentation of my face in the
That truck.
glass of the cab of this Hydrema
I
truck.
saw him
And the
do it.
thing is this really seems silly. You know, you're probably not loading a truck every day, but how they haven't figured this out just kind of blows your mind. I mean, it's just really silly that these things won't curl under any better than they do.
Okay, notice here we're digging this with an 18-inch bucket. The John Deere and the Kubota, they was 24-inch buckets.
Exactly.
Well, Mark rents these a lot in Atlanta, and I mean, this is the kind of setup they have to use when they're working on a sidewalk or something such as that, or your demo contractor that's having to go into a building and load concrete out.
That's right.
They can't throw the dirt on Peachtree Street and leave it there.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you have to demo out like a sidewalk and you use a thumb or something like that, you can use it to dump into your dump truck, and that's just another way it'll actually reach out and let you set it in there.
That'd be me.
We hired him.
We'll hire him out too. It's a little more expensive.
That's as far as that thing will curl under.
And there's nothing in there.
Seems silly. This is boom all the way up, stick all the way out. Dumped your whole load.
Again, keep in mind this is an 18-inch bucket.
Look at that. I mean, just showing off. I mean, that's how much better it is.
A lot of people say the film don't lie.
Yeah.
We got a little demo we're going to show you here, live on stage, showing this 200-degree rotation. What we've got, getting over here out of the way, got all three machines here. We're going to show this just like we did on the video. We're going to boom up, stick out with the bucket curled all the way in. We've got the buckets filled with peanuts, regular old dry peanuts. Just watch what comes out of the bucket and what stays in the bucket. All right, let's walk over here and see what the Kubota does with Jamie. Same thing, bucket full, 24-inch bucket, dry peanuts. Okay. On down, Jamie. Now Mark's going to do it with the cat machine. It's kind of a little silly, but think of it this way. These are peanuts. But to a contractor, that's money. That's money. He's got to move it twice, or he's got to pay somebody, like we're going to have Macaulay come up and sweep this up here in a little bit. You got to have somebody come behind you and clean it up. Again, think about that urban application, somebody doing utility work. all the way up, bucket curled all the way, stick all the way out. You know, free-flowing material here, but I think the point was just made. Look at the piles. Now we need a volunteer to clean up. With that, we're going to take about a 15-minute break. We're going to turn the machines around. We'll come back. We're going to talk about the engines, some of the serviceability, some other things on the backside. So about 15 minutes. We'll be right back here. We've turned the machines around, as you can see. We know we're going to talk about more of the things on the backside, engines, serviceability. A couple things I want to touch on right here is electric fuel primer pump. Really very, very simple thing, but kind of a neat little feature to have. Machine runs out of fuel, refill it, turn on the ignition without cranking the machine. You'll hear it click. It's what it's doing is it's flooding the lines, getting the fuel to the injectors before it cranks so it doesn't crank dry. Kind of a simple thing, but it is nice to have. You will notice all three machines do have that. We weren't really sure about one of them until we started checking, turn the key, and you could hear it click, start purging the line, or filling the lines. Another thing, we talked about accumulator earlier, about being a safety feature, which it is, very much a safety feature. But it also takes a lot of the pressures off of the lines, takes the spikes out of the hydraulic systems, smooths those out. What it does, again, on the front side of the machine, takes the pressure off the hydraulic disconnects. If you're changing a line, it's going to be easier to get those off. Not going to spray a lot of fluid and leave a lot of fluid on the ground. The Cat machine does have it. Aerial short right there. The Kubota has it up on the side. John Deere, no accumulator. Okay? Going back, thinking about our safety, say we have a dead engine, booms up in the air. How in the world do you get the John Deere down on the ground? This is straight out of their owner and operator manual. Steps that you have to do. First thing you have to do is take the hydraulic tank cap off. It's under pressure. You've been running the machine. It's going to be hot. Fluid's going to be hot. You have to take this side plate off to get to the valve body. You have to find the specific valve body, or the valve in there, take the relief line off, get the pressure off of it so the boom can come down. Here's your valve body right in here. Tight fit. You got to get in there, figure out which one to do. Then, again, going back to safety, when you take that pressure off that valve, how quick is that boom coming down? I don't know if it's going to ease down or if it's going to drop quick. Again, another safety thing always in front of the Cat's mind, as well as Yancey Brothers. How safe is it? All the steps that we had to do to get to it. How efficient is it? Ambient cooling may not make much of a difference around here. We're not in a drastically hot environment except for a few months during the summer. But the way the Caterpillar is set up, you see here through where a lot of these hoses come through the, lack of better terms, the firewall. You'll see them, they're really closed in. So the radiator fan has a focused, direct area to where it's coming through to get to the cooling cores. You look on the Kubota and you look on the John Deere, and you'll see a lot of gaps, spaces, where a lot of outside air is not directed where it needs to go.
Auto idle. All three have auto idle. What's auto idle? Just basically, you have the tractor running full tilt. You know, when you let off the flow, it just idles down. I mean, it's automatic, idles down. The E models, they have the auto idle and the eco mode. We'll show you later. The new E2 model, since they dropped the horsepower, we no longer need the eco mode. What does this do? It allows, you know, it's better on the engine. It's lowering the engine so the RPMs aren't cranked up all the time. With that, it's going to lower your fuel consumption as well. Auto off. In the compass monitor, that's how you set it. It's 2 buttons, like we said before. John Deere has it, and Kubota has it as well. It's a little more buttons inside theirs as well, and the Kubota is actually on the side panel on the right. Compass monitor. Complete operation, maintenance, performance, and security system. That's a mouthful. Compass monitor. This thing, it's huge. I mean, a lot of guys, you say, oh, it's going to be in the way, it's going to get busted off, and stuff like that. It's really a big deal. It's in a nice monitor. Kubota has a monitor as well. John Deere has one, but it's really all they have is just showing fluid levels and stuff like that. I mean, Kubota's is a little more high-tech, but it's just very complicated, and it's not the best. It's not as easy for the operator. Next one. As you can see here.
Yeah, there's the Kubota monitor. Got some nice features in it. It's kind of in your way when you're sitting in the cab. You don't have clear line of sight to it. But it does have a few nice service features and then the operation history record. But it's kind of like an old smartphone or an old flip phone versus the smartphone in the cat. It's not intuitive. It's not a very good monitor.
Let me jump in here on the John Deere. Jamie made a reference to flip phones. John Deere is like a pager. It's really just a gauge cluster. Notice here, this is the same monitor they use on the 35, the 50, and the 60. And the point I want to make on this is, remember, on the 35, it's under the not-to-exceed limit of 25 horsepower for Tier 4 final. The 50 and the 60 is. You know, you read there where it says that one point about regeneration inhibit, just so you don't get confused, that's something that is on the 50 and the 60 because it will have some type of Tier 4 system, DPF, whatever, however they're doing it on those machines. The 35G, that is not a feature that's on that machine because it doesn't meet it's under the not to exceed requirement.
So rolling it up, the Compass monitor. It no longer has the Eco mode, but we still have some E models to sell, so we can not forget about that Eco mode with the 31.6 horsepower. Security system. I've heard several times in the last year that machines are getting stolen off job sites, but you get there and the Cat machine's still there. Why? Because the owner has set up his security system so it'll lock itself out, and you can't get in, you can't hotwire, you can't do anything with it. It just shuts the entire machine off. Pattern changer. Kubota made mention in that video how complicated it is to get in ours. It's literally on the screen. It's 2 buttons. It isn't getting more uncomplicated than that. You have your coupler you can do on your monitor if you want. The think about it, going back, the operator can actually, most of the monitors come preset with certain buttons on it. Now the owner can actually, himself, through the operations manual, he can preset those at anything he wants to on there. Not just for implements, he can do anything he likes to set those up so it makes it easier and more accessible for him. Also, the servicing schedule, which is in there, it's a pretty neat little thing. It's not nothing real big, but it helps, kind of keep maintenance so he doesn't have to think about stuff like that. It just pops up when you go to crank it up one morning. Hey, you're getting close to this. You need to go ahead and get this checked. And then your regular gauges, your RPMs, and your fuel and temperature gauge. Side-by-side comparison in all three. The security system, none of them have it except for the Caterpillar. Multi-user, none of them have it but the Caterpillar. Once again, you can watch, an owner can watch his guys. He comes one morning, sees some damage on it. He can see who ran it out of fuel, who swung it into something, idle. We both have it. The Kubota has it as well, but it's complicated how it's inside there. One thing we do have, and the Kubota does have, is auxiliary flow adjustment. Ours is a 1 through 15 setting, which you saw that on the left-hand side earlier. Theirs is a 1 through 20 setting. And they also have the presets for the work tools as well, as we do. But like I said, it's complicated how to get in their system. Ours is 2 buttons. It's literally 2 buttons. Get in there, and you can just go to work. Pattern changer we talked about a second ago. Kubota said ours is complicated. Like I said, it's literally on the front there, 2 buttons, boom, boom, backhoe loader, excavator. However you want to do it. The John Deere, as Gary can kind of show you from there, you actually have to turn the machine off, open up a little compartment, and then you can switch it that way. But take attention right there. You have to let it idle for 3 minutes to cool it down before you can even switch it. The Kubota, it's big guy like me or Jamie, you get in the seat like that, it's kind of like down here, you have to kind of like reach down. And it's not nothing, it's not a big deal, but it is kind of in the way there. Now we're going to just do a couple things to the compass monitors. Has everybody ran a compass monitor before? No? Yes? Maybe? Okay. I'm gonna call on somebody to come up here in just a second, so. Just kidding. All right. We found this on dealer.cat. There's actually a simulator for this. I'm just going to run through a couple small, just real quick things on here. The first, we'll show you the pattern control changer. Preset already, boom, and you can change it from there, up and down. That's it. I don't think that's that hard. All right, you can go into the main menu there. Go down to Work Tool, Presets. We can do flow adjustment or whatever you want. Yeah, that's fine. Work Tool setting. There you go. There's your presets already. You can see as well on the bottom it says user defined. If that customer has a separate implement that's not listed on there, obviously he can add to whatever he likes to on the monitor for himself. See how simple it is, and he's using a mouse to do it right now. I mean, it's really uncomplicated here. Here's your flow adjuster. We were talking about 1 through 15 settings. Now, this way, you can just dial in your implement or your work tool however you like to, and just it's set, it's in there. He doesn't have to worry about adjusting from there. It's all ready to go for him, so he can just hook up and go. And I would recommend before you go on a demo, go on dealer.cat and download this on your computer or your iPad or something like that. It's really simple. It'll cause you, save you some embarrassment there. I remember going on a demo with another rep a couple weeks ago, and we couldn't figure out how to change the security code on the for a new 305 we delivered to a guy, our help. And we're going through the operations manual and stuff like that. We're just stumbling over ourselves. And if I'd have known that, we would have went through this machine beforehand and made it seamlessly for him and for all of us. Serviceability.
Yep, this is a big feature here. Big thing to talk about. We kind of talked about some of the features on the machine. Now we're going to talk about serviceability of each machine. I'm going to show you a few of the quick highlights, things that we found just from having the machine side by side comparison. Have Jamie talk about the Kubota.
Yeah, so comparing the Kubota to the Caterpillar, one thing that sticks out is their air filter is in here in the engine compartment. You can see on the Cat that's moved over to that side compartment. It'd be real easy to burn yourself when you were cleaning this filter out. They've got two filters here, the fuel filter and the fuel water separator. We've got those combined into one. Their oil filter is down under the engine here, very difficult to access. The starter is also down here in front of the counterweight. The only way we can find that you would be able to replace the starter is by having to remove this counterweight. And then if you ever had to get to that muffler there, it's behind this structural member here. So I don't know how you'd get that thing out. So coming around to the side, the spacing between their cores is only 3/4 of an inch. On the Caterpillar, we've got 1 1/4 inches. So if you were going to blow that thing out, get a 1 back in there, a lot better access on our machine. Okay, so what did Kubota hit us on? Our battery location. Well, for starters, ours is a maintenance-free battery. So they've got, good access to their battery here, but here again, this is something the customer's going to have to touch and maintain. Ours is a maintenance-free battery. They do have the accumulator here. And then if you just look at their hose routings, just want to continue to hit on these type things. the fit and finish of the Caterpillar is far superior to this tractor. Okay, and this was a big deal. Your greasing intervals. Okay, we have on the left here the Kubota grease chart, and on the right we've got the Caterpillar. And if you look at this, almost every one of these grease fittings has to be greased on a daily basis on the Kubota. And then they've only got one that's extended out to 50 hours, and then they've only got one that's extended out to 200 hours. So we overlaid Caterpillars on top of this chart. So we've got a few there that need to be greased every 50 hours. We've only got 3 that need to be greased every 100 hours. And the majority of these things we're extending out to 500 hours. So how are we able to do that? It's through the use of these oil-impregnated sintered bearings. Anybody know what a sintered bearing is? No. So what they do is they take ground-up bronze, and they put it in a hydraulic press, and they press it out to mold this bearing. So it creates a permeable, porous surface. So when you grease this thing, that grease is seeping through this bearing, and you're going to get lubrication on 100% of the surface. So that's something that Caterpillar invests, in, that the competition doesn't. And this type of bearing is also going to retain that grease a lot longer, allowing you to extend that interval out. The Kubota and the Deere just have a standard pin-type bushing grease fitting.
We'll jump over here and talk a little bit about the John Deere. Rear access. That's it. I don't know how you're going to get in there. You can see here, fuel filter's not bad to get to. However, just like the Kubota, the air filter's over the hot engine. Hot day, after you've been running, you're checking the air filter, have to change it. The maintenance man, PM guy comes to work on it. He's over this hot engine. Again, also like the Kubota, here's the fuel filter. Fuel and water separators on the other side. Way back here, you got the side panel off, but without the side panel, the muffler's way back in here. If for some reason you have to take that off, it's going to be pretty tough to get to. We've got the machine set up this way for a certain reason. You'll see why here in a minute. You look here on the photos, there's the fuel and water separator that's 2 pieces rather than 1 on the Caterpillar. Again, also like the Kubota. Battery's easy to get to, yeah, but it's a maintenance battery. You have to service it. They don't have a stacked cooler and radiator core. But just looking at this machine, when you come up and look at it later, try to figure out how you're going to get those out if you have to repair or replace them. Really don't know. We haven't figured out how you're going to be able to do it. This is the big thing on the John Deere machine. To get to the alternator, the starter, this is what you've got to do.
Right.
You got to take this front plate off.
We'll need all of us.
And
Let's just take all of us. You have to take this front plate off. Take this bottom side piece off. Front.
Where you put that? Put that for me.
Give us a second.
See if we can do this. Go. Get that safety bar.
Okay, come on down. That's what you have to do to get to it. See down on the bottom, John Deere does sell a little cab jack that goes in this spot right here. About $600. According to Flint, there's not one in the state of Georgia. Either you got to have 4 people pushing this thing forward, crane, service truck with a crane. They do have a floor access. Not showing because of how we've got it set up here. Not bad to get into the bottom here, but really to get to the valve body, you got to take this side piece off. It's not well laid out. Easy to get to once you get everything open. Again, it's kind of confusing on where everything is. Again, in this picture, you can see the starter, the alternator way in the back of the machine. I'm not sticking myself underneath there to do that.
And the main control valve is here. That's where all your lines is coming to. Where ours on the cat's on the side, where you can actually access it.
One thing here that Gary caught when we had this thing rolled up. I see an issue right here in this area. Let Gary talk about that.
Right here, the rear flywheel housing on this engine is open, and it's sitting right up under this muffler. So you're going to have heat coming off that muffler. Of course, you're going to have contamination getting into the flywheel housing. What's it going to do? It's going to get the flywheel ring. It's probably going to get the starter bendix. May even get a rear main seal.
Moving back to call this a piece of art, we'll call it, compared to the rest of the other one. Kubota made mention about the belt being hard to get to. Well, with theirs is exposed. We have a safety guard on here for a reason. That's why it's maybe a little more difficult. It's 2 bolts. That guard helps it from, if it does break, it doesn't hit and kill somebody or hurt somebody. We think that's a smart idea, not a bad idea. Starter, easily to get to on the bottom down here. Oil filters, everything's right here to your right. Muffler, not that you may need to ever change that, but it's right here as well, easy to get to. Moving around. Look how that's laid out. If anybody's ever been in any kind of Mini X, it's laid out perfectly just for service. I'm 6'3". I can get underneath this thing and do whatever I need to do. Not most guys are as tall as maybe me, but I don't see how hard it can be. Like Kubota said, ours is hard to get underneath and to work under. Like Jamie said earlier, our coolers are 1 1/4 inch. You can get a wand back here easily to blow those out. And like we all know, if it's going to be hard, it's not going to get done from a service standpoint. We have a 1-part fuel and water separator. Our accumulator is right here. Air filter, we talked about, it's on the opposite side, not near the engine. All the hydraulic hoses are right here. Your 1-way and 2-way valve. Or if you have a hammer, it's right there as well. Like you said before, the hose routing, it's all laid out. It's perfectly laid out. It's just a way better design. It's a cat design. You can tell the difference between a cat's marksmanship compared to this, or compared to the others. Excuse me. SOS, we're the only ones that has it. We have an SOS port up here on the top right. John Deere, Kubota, not only do they don't have it, they don't have any ability to do it. We all have that in-house. We'll talk about that, later when we wrap things up. Show what we can do, what they can't do.
One thing we noticed when we were running machines up at the Gwinnett store one day, and again, remember, we had Deere was a canopy machine. The Cat we had was a canopy machine. That's the exact Kubota machine we had, cab machine. It just seemed when we were running it, it just seemed loud inside. Downloaded an app onto a phone. How accurate it is, I don't know, but it gave you at least you were having a comparison between one and the other. Took the sound level reading from the seat at low idle, from the seat at high idle, from the rear machine at low and high idle. See there on the chart, the chart's a little cumbersome, but the point is, even with a canopy machine, our machine was quieter than theirs, the cab machine. I wish we would have had the 303.5 cab machine where we could have done the same thing and really seen how quiet it is. Just thinking about all the Caterpillar products and how tight and pressurized the cabs have gotten over the last couple of years.
So when you're against the Kubota, one of the things we noticed right away was just the fit and finish of the machine. They don't even take the time to paint the inside of their doors. It's almost as ridiculous as their video. But if you look at this one, same thing. It's real apparent. And this is, it kind of gets up out of the way, but it's a real flimsy door. Wouldn't take a whole lot for this thing to fall off. And they don't offer you the hydraulic quick disconnects. So as you're walking around the machine and you point those things out, it's just something that they don't do, and you want to plant that seed of doubt in their mind. If they're cutting corners here, where else are they cutting corners on the machine? Okay, and you can't see it here, but they've got the 2 bucket pin positions. You know, customers are just going to leave that in that power position. They've got a rotate and a power position. And then something we did notice as well is you can't pin the bucket directly to the linkage. So if for some reason your coupler ever failed, you wouldn't be able to pin that bucket to the machine. And then boom swing, the big safety feature that we've got by having that up on your joystick. See, if you don't do this right in succession, it won't close. Second here.
Safety first.
And real quick, before we start this, one morning we were up there at Gwinnett running these machines, and Gary got in this tractor, and if you look at their foot pedal, there was a rock lodged just by chance under that left side, and it had that right boom swing pedal depressed. So when he cranked the machine and he dropped that safety bar down, it automatically started to swing to the right. So what's the first thing he did to correct that? He stomped it to the left, and finally we just had to shut the machine off to get that thing from jumping back and forth. So big safety feature that we have by having that up out of the floor. Okay.
Ian.
I'm going to back away here. So what can happen with that being on the floor?
It'll make it.
Yeah, you're good. So as you're down here working in the trench, and you want to ask the boss if you've got this pipe bailed up right.
Jamie, what are you doing down there?
Oh, he accidentally steps on the boom swing.
You step on it. And I'd say that happens a lot on job sites because it's easy to do.
Like we mentioned earlier, the one-way, two-way valve, for your hammer, that kind of attachment. We got it. Kubota has it. Both of them are really easy to get to on both those machines. Just to point out, the John Deere is a 3/4-inch wrench down here on the bottom left-hand side. I want to point that out as well.
Okay, the auxiliary connectors. Again, we offer that as standard equipment. One thing you want to notice on the Deere is they terminate their auxiliary lines on the stick or on the boom. They don't bring them down the stick like we do and the Kubota does as well. Again, when you're doing your walk around, you want to kind of touch and feel the quality of the Caterpillar. Notice we've got the wire-wrapped hoses, and theirs are just fabric-wrapped. And then Kubota does say that they've got this diverter valve as standard. Well, the only reason you're going to need that thing is with a hydraulic thumb in addition to another work tool. So we don't offer it as standard, but we give it to you if you buy a hydraulic thumb as part of the kit. And something else we wanted to point out, kind of a small detail, but it speaks volumes to our quality on our sticks. Okay, everybody's went to this thumb-ready stick. But if you look close, Gary can explain our welds are stress relief.
You see these welds extending on out on the ends of the plate. They're not welded in the center, but they come on out. What that is that is a stress relief weld. And the competition, what you'll see is the Kubotas is welded all the way around. What happens is whenever you're running that machine, that stick is going to flex just a little bit. And if you've got a solid continuous weld for this bracket all the way around, it's going to create a crack right there because there's no way to let it stress there and let it move a little bit. And that's something the John Deere does not have it at all. And the Kubota, they started to put it on there, but they welded it all the way up to
Well, that was actually
that was
the
on
Deere,
the John Deere,
yeah.
wasn't it?
Okay, and this is something else that we've got that nobody else has. We've got a lifting eye that's stamped and certified, so you definitely want to sell it. What this allows you to do, if you're lifting something, it increases your lift capacity because you can drop the bucket off and increase your lift capacity by the weight of the bucket. And here again, it's something that we do. We do it safer and that nobody else has, so you definitely want to point it out.
And one last thing on the lifting eye. If you're going up against a governmental bid, that's something that we can put in there that no one else can put in there, and that just, that's one thing they can't do. We can't.
Good point. Okay, and on average, every mini excavator sold in North America is sold with 3 work tools. So don't ever forget we're vertically integrated. You're buying your work tool from us and your machine. So if you ever get into a warranty situation down the road, there's not going to be any finger pointing between manufacturers. We're a one-stop shop. You're coming to us for everything. And then if the customer doesn't want to buy those work tools at the time of the sale, don't forget about your CAT commercial account, your CAT access account. We often offer good terms on these work tools down the road. A lot of the times we have 0% for 12 months or 24 months on these work tools.
Sell the house. Boy, I hate to get called to the big house, but we love selling the house. Earth Moving Solutions. When you walk in the front door of Yancey Brothers, you see 2 very important tools that we have that's of value to our customer. See the SOS lab, and you see the war room. We've got $150,000 invested in the war room, and go to the next slide. We've got 5 levels that we can offer our customers. On level 1 right now, we've got 554 accounts already enrolled. Level 2, we got 43. Level 3 is where we start getting into the PMs. We got 122. Level 4, it's got PMs plus. James, what's the big thing on 4? Condition monitoring on 4 is 251. And then at level 5, we got 73. SOS lab. Got $225,000 invested in the SOS lab here at Yancey Brothers. We get 200 samples a day, 4,500 samples a month, and 54,000 samples a year. Another investment, field service trucks. Now, if you drive up and down 85 or I-20, one thing I always notice is job sites, who's working where, whose lowboys is running up and down the road, and whose service trucks is running up and down the road. And you can always pick our service trucks out. I know I worked in field service in Austell 12 years ago, and I helped lay out these field trucks along with Shane Carlisle. And I've actually got some pride in this truck here. Maintainer beds, Boss air compressors. This is the top of the line, best you can buy. We've got $175,000 invested in our field service trucks. We've got 389 skilled technicians company-wide. 105 of them in the field, shop specialty service like spec shops, hydraulic shops, undercarriages, 167. With over $2 million invested in tooling and technician training for our people, if that's a value for the customer. Parts inventory. Now, one of the most complicated deals we had doing this presentation was going to John Deere and going to the Kubota dealerships and buying parts. They didn't have anything. We couldn't get half the parts we needed. We walked into Flint, which is right next door to our store in Austell. Everybody should make a trip over there and walk in the front door. I mean, Flint is 20, 30 years behind Yancey Brothers right now. Just their parts department, their layout. You walk inside and it's 1980 style. They got brochures that's hanging on the walls 15 years old.
And then the Kubota, they've got this picture parts list online. So when I was getting just our filters for the Kubota machine, I went online, I printed that off, I had all my part numbers. So I got there right at 8 o'clock on a Friday morning, but the lady didn't even show up until 8:30 to open up parts. Keep in mind, all I got was your air filter, fuel filter, hydraulic filter. I had all my parts numbers with me. I didn't leave out of there until almost 11 o'clock.
Yancey Brothers has an inventory of $23,822,925 worth of parts in inventory. 113,645 line items. Off the shelf, 91%. Within 24 hours, 98%. Within 48 hours, 99%. We probably got 99% of the parts we need right now to have on stage that won't be here for 3 weeks. Parts delivery services. Dedicated parts shuttle trucks. We got 8 of those and drop boxes, 125 throughout the state. XT3 hoses. That's what you see on many of our machines. Matter of fact, all the machines with the hydraulic lines going to the main circuits, the X3s, the other ones, the pilot lines, it's just a regular X1 hose. X3's got 4 layers of steel, 4,000 PSI hose. Hose routing. One thing I want you to look here is the clamping system we have. We got steel clamps with the grommets in the middle of them, and they're always bolted and nicely fastened to the side of the machine. I'd say 30% of the fastening systems we have on these 2 machines is tie straps.
Yep, zip ties.
Mini excavator parts. We got 8,391 items stocked. We got 1,901 just part numbers. 88% store average fill and 97% Atlanta fill rate. That's pretty impressive. So we have $695,509 worth of mini excavator parts in stock right now, available to our customers. Dealership coverage. Yancey Brothers has 1 dealer throughout the whole state of Georgia. John Deere, they have 2. Kubota, 11 dealers. How can you build a relationship with 11 dealers? And the bad thing is, if you need to buy a part from Mason Tractor Company, they don't have it, but they don't have any way to have a network to look and see where it's at. If it's located at Gene and Matt's store down the road 15 miles without picking up the phone and calling. Committed to Georgia. Yancey Brothers is committed to Georgia. We have 43 stores available to our customers throughout the state. 14 earth moving. We got 6 Yancey Power Systems, 9 truck shops, 6 bus shops, and 2 used equipment yards. We got 1 in McDonough, 1 in Faultville.
All right, we've touched on several things on the machine, specifically on the 303.5 E2. See here, talking about the engine, Jamie touched on how we've reduced the horsepower but not lost performance on the machine. Mark talked about the compass monitor. Again, that's a Caterpillar exclusive item. No one else has anything like that. We also talked about Gary took something that once we started diving into it and we had to call Caterpillar and say, what is this high definition hydraulics? Gary took it, studied it, and basically boiled it down to where we could understand it. I think you probably could understand it as well. Again, Caterpillar exclusive on that. Hydraulic quick connect standard, accumulator, dozer float. We talked about serviceability, the intervals, parts that are necessary and where they're located and things like that. SOS ports, our oil lab. Talked several times about safety features. Again, very important to Caterpillar and the Yancey Brothers. Look on the back of your handout that you got. When we were looking at coming up with PM costs on these 3 machines, getting our our filter list, air filters, fuel filters, hydraulic filters, all of the things that what Kubota, John Deere, and Caterpillar all have in their owners and operators manual. We dug into those, got us a parts list, got those parts, figured out what the prices were from the respective dealers. Then we also started looking into it. Hey, let's look at some other things that you would typically, not a maintenance item, but a repairable item, a wear item. Sprockets, rollers, idlers, your different pumps, bucket cylinders, travel motors, tracks. See on the bottom, we've got the John Deere cab tool, different things like that. The first batch of numbers we got back were the CAT numbers. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, man, that's a lot of money. Over $10,000, especially something like the travel motor, $3,100. Well, as soon as we started getting all the numbers from Kubota and John Deere, which, as Jamie said, getting the information out of Kubota was difficult at times. Not that they didn't have it, it just took so long for them to get it back to us. In a nutshell, look at the comparison here. Like parts to like parts. The John Deere, $4,600 more for the same parts. The Kubota, over $8,700 difference just in the parts alone. That's the reason we wanted to put this on the backside. This is not something that's in the spec sheets. It's not something that most people will know until you really start digging into it, like we did on this particular product.
One thing real quick, Brian. Something I noticed is look at your bucket pins and tips. They're sourcing those from the same place. You can buy them cheaper if you need to at John Deere than you can Kubota.
Go back to our original initial price that we had with our $6,200 premium over the Kubota, our $3,600 plus premium over the John Deere 35G. What we want to do is, hey, let's boil this down to a number that's a little easier to explain and talk about. It actually brings in a lot of different things to the puzzle rather than just the initial purchase price. Again, here's our prices: $38,000, $41,000, $45,000 for us. Of course, like I don't think anybody's ever gone out, given a quote to a customer, and they look at it and say, "You're low bid." We priced a set of tracks at each dealer. Where we're at for a set of just the tracks only. This next piece took, like I said, when we were digging into the owner and operators manuals, this took some time. Not only do we have to look at the price of the filter, the component that we were replacing, but we also had to look at, and they all will lay it out in their book, the scheduled maintenance, what kind of interval it's on. Is it 500-hour change, 250, 1,000, 2,000? In cases some of ours here, we're extended way beyond that with the extended life coolant. Took all of that, put it into Caterpillar's EAT program. Here's where it came up. At first, we looked at that and said, we missed something. We went back and looked at it again. The way we make it up there on the CAT machine is the extended life of the intervals, PM schedule. Also has to do with some of the parts pricing. So you take these three pieces of each machine, roll it all up in a 3,000-hour investment, as we're going to call it. They're still high. Now, thinking back to my years that I spent in the auction equipment business, one thing I will say about Caterpillar equipment, it will go anywhere in the world. That's because of parts availability and dealer network. That, along with it's a superior machine, will drive this next number here. Went back and looked at auction values. I pulled them from several different sources. The average resale value on these machines, see the CAT by 20% far and away stands out above the other two. Again, roll everything up into one. What's your total 3,000-hour cost per ownership? Now we're talking. This is where the rubber meets the road, or case of a couple of our Yankee friends, where how the cow's going to eat the corn. Break it down to an hourly basis. You want to get down to ridiculous? We've got it right there. We've taken, this doesn't consider some of the other features that we've got on this machine. The front shovel, the 200-degree rotation. This is just talking raw numbers, doesn't have any production performance values associated. All right, we've talked about machines. We've talked about what the dealership can do. We've talked how Caterpillar is involved. We've talked about costs, prices, all kinds of different things. What do we do now? Guys, I can tell you, like I mentioned before, we were first assigned this product. I wasn't real happy, I'll be honest. I didn't think we had much there. But as we went along, we started running these machines side by side, jumping from one to the other, doing different things. We can tell you, we've got the machine. We haven't even been on this one to dig dirt with it, but Mark and I are just moving it around the yard, the E2 version, with that high definition hydraulics.
Very nice.
Does feel smoother. Still want to get it in the dirt and see the difference. Again, bucket rotation, the serviceability we've talked about, high definition hydraulics, things nobody else has. Show those, sell those. It'll make a difference. Walk around the machines, show the advantages of what we've got. Roll the cab on the Deere. I think it was the 259 guys said in their presentation, open up their closets. There's their closet. Look at that closet. Open this one up. Clean. It's laid out. As Mark said a couple of times, that's just the Caterpillar way. One thing that we thought about is on a demo, and this could freak a customer out. Find out what their pattern that they normally run. Are they running the John Deere pattern? Are they running the Cat pattern? Set it in the compass monitor opposite. Turn the bucket around and have that machine deliver with the bucket in the front shovel position. Now, you're going to have to show up right at the same time with the machine so you can show how easy it is to swap it around and how easy it is to go through the compass monitor to change pattern control. I can assure you, it'll definitely make an impression. We talked about the parts, pricing. You've got it on there. We've always heard, hey, Cat's the most expensive machine. The parts are expensive. I think we've dispelled a lot of that myth just in the parts list that we did on this machine. And finally, it's always important, sell the house. Sell the house as far as what Yancey Brothers does, what we have, what we bring to the table, what Caterpillar brings to the table to this marketplace. Touched on before about We Build Georgia. We've got our partners at Caterpillar, everyone at Yancey Brothers, from the mountains all the way down to the coast. We got the state covered. One team. And we've been around here 100 years. Don't know how long all these Kubota dealers are going to hang around, how that's all going to work. There's been a lot of jobs done around here with Caterpillar equipment by our customers. They keep coming back. There's a reason for that. Before we close out, I do need to say thank you to a few people. Jim Radcliffe, Jim Larson, Shannon, helping with the logistics here. Ian Carroll at Caterpillar. Got a lot of information from these people, from Greg Worley, Shannon Hopper in the Mini Excavator Product Group. Chris Burns, Preston Smith, we leaned on y'all for a lot of information and advice and what if. So we say thank you for all of that. That Brown would say, what y'all got? Any questions?